Hi, welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. And the weather's been cold. It's been really cold up here where I'm at in the single digits for a while. And so this guy that I helped been calling me, and he's got some units coming in with after treatment faults, and 2639's popping up a bit. So I wanted to address that. And 2639 is your first stage of fault logic where the ECM is basically saying, hey, the DPS plugged up, I need you to do a regen, okay? So the faults were showing up as active, and it's important to look at what the units do that are having these faults as far as duty cycle. So Jake takes care of a fleet of box trucks that do around town deliveries, and then a fleet of roll-offs, and he's got some dumps that he takes care of. So this happened to be in a dump truck, and this guy was delivering salt in the winter. And what would happen is he would go and he would get in line to get loaded with salt, and it would sit there and idle, sometimes for an hour. And when the after treatment cools down, you can form a lot of moisture in it. So what happens is that moisture gets down into the DPF and it freezes. So now you've got blocked cells. It doesn't necessarily damage the cells, but it does close them off because ice is a solid, right? So then when the guy takes off, all of a sudden the DPF restriction is much higher than it would normally be because he's got this ice in there. And so if the fault goes active and drives a lamp, you'll get a lamp come on. Now, as time goes on, one of the things you always have to keep in mind when you're looking at stuff is the ECM calibration revision. The engine company learns along with us in the field. So engineers will write delays on certain things if they know that just taking off down the road and getting some heat back there will stop the problem. So if if you have a fault, something like this happen on a unit that's got a very early revision, say 0.05 or 0.06, and you look and hey, we're currently at revision 37, sometimes just a calibration update will fix it. And you can look at the revision list, which is on QuickServe Online, and you'll see the fix for that fault. It'll say help reduces or this fault code from logging. So then in that case, you would just put the revision in, do a regen, and let the guy go. But if that's not the case, then the problem may be that he's idling too much, or he's idling at base idle and he needs to ramp his idle up, and then you do a little driver education. So let's take a quick look at this fault, and then I'll finish commenting on it. Now, in this case, the only reason that Jake even saw this 2639 is because the driver said, hey, I came in Monday morning, got in the truck, started driving, and I had a check engine light on. And the truck sits outside, and it happened to be like 1 degree Fahrenheit that weekend. It was that cold, down in the single digits. So the DEF fluid in 48 or 50 hours completely froze to a brick. And the system will usually wait about an hour before it'll start logging faults, giving the DEF a chance to warm up. So my guess is that 5278 happened right towards the end, where the fluid in the tank was just about warm enough for it for the pump to turn on and pressurize for the system to start working. Sometimes you don't make that time limit just because it's so cold outside that it takes longer for that tank to warm up. So I dismissed the 5278. The 3425, I think that was a glitch at Keon, but 2639 he had 4 counts of. But you can see that that doesn't drive a light. But the reason that was happening was of, of excessive idle time at base idle. So if you have somebody come in that has this 2639 in the wintertime, you see a bunch of counts of it, it's a good thing to ask them, hey, do you do a lot of idling? And when we talk about idling, just define it as, do you idle for periods longer than 10 minutes during the day? And if they say yes, go, how long do you idle? Half hour, hour, 2 hours, waiting for, to get loaded, whatever. And if they tell you that it's more than 10 minutes, I would suggest that on the ISX series, you set their PTO ramp up, RPM ramp up to 950 for them. Or if you can't do that because they have to have certain pump speeds that are set in there when they do run a physical PTO pump, then tell them to bump it up to 950 RPM or close to that if they're going to idle more than 10 minutes in extreme cold. And that will help stop this 2639 from logging, and it'll help stop other after treatment problems. Okay? Thanks for joining me on Engine Shop Joe. See you next time.